Thank you very much. I always wondered whether being the keynote address on the day after the cocktail reception was sort of a good thing or a bad thing. So I appreciate all being here, and I look forward to the discussion. My name is David Josephs. I lead push payments for Visa in Europe. And what I'd like to do today is spend some time taking you through our approach to push payments globally and how we think about push payments, especially cross-border. And that works, always good. The landscape is transforming. Everyone in this room knows this probably better than I do, that the landscape is transforming. Existing and long-established remittance providers are innovating. They are continually refreshing their offerings and continually looking at their consumer base. New entrants are coming in at a very, very rapid pace, trying to disrupt the industry and being successful in disrupting the industry. You're seeing new operators, you're seeing non-bank companies enter the space. Customer expectations are changing dramatically, and I'll talk about that in a bit more detail later on. And then, of course, things are moving more and more to apps, to digital, to a variety of different technologies. The last year that I have data for is 2017, and there was about $1 billion of investment in financial technology in 2017. And I'm pretty sure that when we see the information for 2018 and 2019, that figure will have risen significantly. That technology and that investment provides a lot of opportunity and a lot of challenge, but that scale of investment should enable new experiences for consumers at lower prices, at more flexible offerings. How do we see the world today? It's difficult. There's a great deal of friction. The infrastructure has been reasonably unchanged for decades, and there has been a lot of innovation and a lot of attempts to try to address some of the legacy systems and what one of my colleagues, a gentleman named Anthony Cahill, refers to as technology debt. By the way, I'm a wanderer, and I'm going to try to remember these chairs are here and not actually trip over them as I'm walking. What are some of the challenges that we see? Time. It takes a long time for a sender's money to reach the receiver. Limited control, limited transparency. It's interesting. When you send money, you often don't know exactly where it is. When you're receiving money, you often don't know exactly where it is at any given point in time. I was talking a little bit before about experiences. When I order an Uber, or when I use the Free Now, My Taxi app to order a car, I can actually see where somebody else's car is, how close to me it is, and when it's going to get to me in the palm of my hand. Yet when we talk to remitters, when we talk to money transmitters, and we ask them where are their pain points, one of the things that we hear, and that we hear quite frequently, is that their single biggest customer service question is, where's my money right now? And we have to get beyond that lack of transparency. Some of the other challenges that we see in today's world are what I like to refer to as the multiples. When you're sending money cross-border, you have to deal with multiple jurisdictions. You have to deal with multiple regulatory regimes. You have to deal with multiple potential points of failure. You have to deal with multiple schemes. Yesterday you heard from MasterCard, today you're hearing from me. There are domestic schemes, there are domestic rails. You have to deal with multiple correspondent banking relationships. You have to deal with multiple opportunities for mouths to feed as you look at the chain. And we need to get beyond that. and we need to get into much more immediacy on the part of delivery. We have to get into much better reporting, both internally and externally, to the end consumers. Fees have to be clear. People have to understand what they're paying, and on the receiving end, what they're receiving. And you've got to know that what you're getting, the amount that you're getting, is what you're getting. Visa Direct was created to address many, many of these challenges. I'm going to take a few minutes to describe to you what Visa Direct is, just so that there's a common understanding. Visa has been around for 61 years. And the reason I know that Visa has been around for 61 years is that last year was our 60th anniversary. And just about every week, our sort of screensavers changed to have some other great event over the course of those 60 years. So I know that Visa's been around for 61 years. And for most of those 61 years, when you initiate a transaction from your Visa card, what you are doing is instructing the network to pull money from your store of funds and generally give it to a merchant. It could be coming from a credit line, it could be coming from your checking account or current account. Visa transaction initiates a pull of money from your current account and gives it to a merchant. Visa Direct push to card simply reverses that flow. And rather than pulling money from someone's current account, pulling money from someone's store of funds, it enables you to use that card credential to push through, and enables individuals and merchants and other entities to push money to you using your card credential. What are some of the advantages of that? There are 3 billion Visa credentials across the globe. So it's more than likely that if you want to push money to somebody, that person may have a Visa card in his or her wallet or his or her pocket. Visa also is connected to the 16,000 financial institutions globally that issue our cards. And when you think about one point of connection, you connect to Visa, and we can help you connect to 16,000 financial institutions and the hundreds of millions and billions of customers that are served by those financial institutions. You're talking about tremendous amount of scale and reach. Everything that Visa has on the pull transaction, our security, our sanction screening, risk, fraud management, is there with the push payment. We love push to card. We think it's wonderful. It's growing at well over 130% a year off of a pretty decent base. And we think that there's massive, massive opportunity in push to card. However, it's not enough. Our CEO, and I actually loved when he said this. Our CEO was speaking in a forum similar to this earlier in the summer, and someone actually asked him about why we bought Earthport. And his answer was, we have 2 billion debit credentials globally. But there are 7 billion people plus on the planet, and not every person carries a Visa card. Some people carry cards of other schemes. Not every person who has a bank account is issued a card. And if we are going to serve you, and we are going to enable you to send money and to transmit money as efficiently, as effectively, globally as possible, we needed to create an opportunity for us to serve you to enable push through an account credential, push through an IBAN, push through a sort code, push through a routing and transit number, so that we can access even more of the individuals that want to be receiving funds. Had I realized that this room was this way and not this way, I probably would have had less detail on this slide. For those of you in the back, that's a Rorschach blot. Whatever you see, it's okay. It's okay. So what is Earthport? And what is Earthport? It is essentially connected. It essentially serves as the world's largest ACH network. It is connected to the local ACH networks in 88 different countries. It can access a total of over 200 countries, accounts in over 200 countries, through existing other networks like SEPA. You can see where it's shaded, and all the different corridors that it can serve. And what does it bring? It brings ease. One single connection, you have access to all of these different countries. Security and compliance, very, very tight compliance and risk framework that is actually sort of now being augmented by Visa, transparency, expertise, 10 years of experience. I know I say 61 years of experience. Earthport's been around for, is in its second decade. And speed. I want to pause on speed. Visa Direct push to card is a fast funds model. And when you push to the card credential, my lawyers say that the money has to be posted within 30 minutes because that is what our requirement is. In reality, money is posted our average transaction posting is within 18 seconds when you push to a card credential. Between Visa and Earthport, we have access to over 70 countries that are either fast funds enabled for push to card, or where the ACH network or the local payment network is faster payments or real-time payments. So when you think about access and speed and convenience between Visa, traditional card rails, the Visa network, and the Earthport network, over 70 countries in real time. And we are continuing to add on both a card basis as well as a push to account basis countries every month, every year. We're continuing to grow that. I have visited with some very, very complex global remitters. And I want to be careful how I say this because I really want to say this with a tremendous amount of respect because I mean it with a tremendous amount of respect. When they show me what they have put together, when they show me the correspondent banking relationships they've established, the different payment processors and payment initiators that they have worked with, the networks to networks to networks to networks that they have established so that they can make payments across a variety of different corridors. And they show me what these spaghetti charts, and I really mean this, they are justifiably proud because what they have done in today's infrastructure is amazing. They have taken what is an incredibly difficult, challenging, inefficient environment, and they have engaged with it in the way that they've had to, and they make their businesses work. This is incredibly simplified. This is still a bit of a mess. You've got originators, you've got multiple countries, you have real-time payment networks, you have correspondent bankings, then correspondent banking relationships, then you've got sort of the last mile banking relationships. It's really, really complex. And when I sit down with global remitters, when I sit down with other businesses that simply need to make payments across borders, and I see what they've done, it's really great. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. And this is what we are seeking to offer, and this is what we are seeking to do with both Visa Direct's network as well as Earthport's network. Single pipe, single connection to us, and then when you think about those 88 countries that Earthport has direct connection to their ACH networks, when you think about the 200 plus countries that Earthport can reach in total, and when you think about the 16,000 financial institutions that are Visa members, and you think about potentially being able to both push and receive money from all of those through one point of contact, that is the vision of what we are trying to drive. And the vision of what we were trying to drive is something that we now refer to as the Visa Direct Payout Service. Through a combination of the Visa network, through a combination of Earthport, through a combination of things that we don't yet have online, but we'll continue to engage with. When we first started talking about the need for push to account, we actually used the phrase extend reach. Extend reach. 2 billion debit cards, 3+ billion total credentials wasn't enough. We had to extend our reach. Earthport, combined with Visa, allows us to extend our reach. We are going to continue extending our reach. This is not all that you're going to see from us. But it allows you to push payments. Again, I'm sorry, I'm walking around these. It allows you to push payments in unprecedented ways and with unprecedented flexibility. How it works. It's pretty straightforward. Earthport will be one of the fulfillment mechanisms. Visa will be others. You're going to be able to send payment instructions to and through us. And those payment instructions can say push to account, can say push to card. We will manage the intelligent routing. And through that one single interface, you're going to be able to send the money to accounts, to cards, digital wallets, eventually other emerging sources and stores of funds. This gives you flexibility. It gives you flexibility in the offering that you can make to your customers. Cost. Is cost really important? Maybe I go slow. Speed. Is speed really important? Maybe I go fast. And you can now toggle between cost and speed. You can make that an offering that you have. You can make it an offering that the sender determines. You can make it something that the receiver decides on. One of the things that another principle that we are trying to embrace is what we call receiver-directed payments. Receiver-directed payments. Being able to say to somebody that is going to get paid, how do you want to get paid? How do you want to get paid? Do you want to get paid through your card? Do you want to get paid through your account? Where do you want that money to end up? Do you want to walk into a store and take money out? It's answering that question, how do you want to get paid, is just one of the keys. And then you just get the money into the person's account. What are some of the other benefits? Ease of integration, Visa's global reach, the scale of the Visa network, the scale of those scores of countries that we can reach, the resiliency that you see through the network, and then the trust. The trust by both consumers, trust by financial institutions in the security and the reliability of the Visa network. 4 key segments that I'd like to talk about right now. 4 key segments that I'd like to talk about right now that can benefit from Visa Direct Payout Service. Remitters, treasury banks, marketplaces, and global ecosystems. And what Visa, through the Visa Direct Payout Service, can provide to those 4 segments are some of the key things sort of in this center things, in this center column. Payment rails, both cross-border and domestic, to reach just about every financial institution on the planet. FX management and the wholesale FX rates that Visa can provide and allow you to access. I talked about risk management. It's one of the risk management, fraud management, AML, sanction screening. It's one of the things that just comes with the Visa network. Tokens, tokenization and security, aliases and the credentials, and as well as request to pay. I skipped over 2 as I ran down that list because I actually want to revisit them in a little bit more detail. The first is exception handling. Exception handling can be a nightmare because of the way Visa has established its systems, because of the way we have scaled up our ability to manage exceptions through the card network, through the card system, through all of the billions of consumers that use our services every day. Our ability to automate exception handling, our ability to provide better transparency about what, where, how, why, our ability to provide that type of reporting really makes it significantly easier for you to serve your end consumers and you to serve the individuals that are sending and receiving money. The last thing I want to touch on here is net settlement. The way the Visa card network works, and many of you know this, but I just want to dwell on it for a second. The way the Visa card network works is through net settlement. When a merchant receives, when a merchant is using an acquiring bank, that acquiring bank is going to be connected to Visa, and that acquiring bank is going to have a whole bunch of purchases coming in, and then a whole bunch of returns coming in. And there's just going to be money sloshing through. Same thing with an issuing bank. That issuing bank is going to have money being pulled and money being deposited back in. And the settlement happens with both of those entities on a net basis. We don't push all the money that the merchant was supposed to get to the merchant and then take the money from the merchant that they were supposed to send back because my sweater didn't fit. We net settle. When you think about the implications of net settlement for more traditional remittance, you can reduce the need to have the full amount funded before the money gets sent, because Visa can enable the banks that are the nodes, the banks that are the nodes, to net settle through our system. It creates a tremendous amount of flexibility on cash flows. I'd like to talk a little bit now about some of the other use cases that, beyond sort of just person-to-person remittances, that Visa Direct can enable. Person-to-person is clearly one. Marketplaces. So let's say I am a merchant, a small merchant, and I sell on a marketplace. Right now, today, I get settled probably on a weekly basis. However, I may need working capital. I may need money today. You can use the Visa network. If that small merchant has a Visa card or registers an account, we can get that money to that person same day, especially on push to card in places where fast funds is enabled. It's incredibly powerful. I talked about Uber and Free Now. If you are a gig economy driver, same type of thing. If you drive for Uber, especially in the United States, Lyft, especially in the United States, you'll get paid at the end of every week. Both Uber and Lyft in the United States are using Visa Direct to give an option to drivers to say, if you want to get paid today, you can get paid today, right now. If I need to drive tonight and I need to fill up my tank and I need money, I can get the money. Very interesting digression on this, and I will not digress very much, but very interesting digression on this. We recently had a very large retailer that has a high population of hourly workers come to us asking about Visa Direct. This was not a client that I would ever have thought would be interested in Visa Direct. They're not gig, they're not marketplace, they're not an insurer, but they came to us and they said, we'd like to learn a little bit more about Visa Direct. And we said, why? And they said, we have a lot of people that work for us full-time, but also work in the gig economy. And we have noticed some patterns of absenteeism. People not coming to work, calling in sick. So we asked them, why are you missing work? And they said they needed cash. So they take the day off from us, because we pay them every 2 weeks, and they drive. And they drive for the gig economy. So this employer is coming to us and saying, we want to make this an option. We want our employees to show up at work for us, and we don't want to be in a situation where they feel they have to drive in order to get their money today. We're not going to pay everybody every day. Uber doesn't pay everybody every day. Lyft doesn't pay everybody every day. It's an option. And what I found so interesting about that, besides just the opportunity, was this company's employees were having an experience in one part of their lives, and they couldn't understand why they couldn't have it in another part of their lives. So as we start seeing more and more immediacy crop in places where we don't pay any attention to, we have to be ready to react, and we have to be ready to address that immediacy in our own businesses. Very quickly, some other use cases for these types of payments. I mentioned insurance. 2 weeks ago, I was at a insurance claims conference, the Connected Claims Conference in Amsterdam, and I love taking the stage with a client, and we had a client with us, a French company named Set2, and Set2 is a niche insurance claims processor, and they are using Visa Direct right now for people with travel insurance that are stranded. I missed my connection. I need to get on a flight. The travel insurer is going to pay me to get on the flight, but I'm standing at the airport and I need to buy the ticket now. I go in the app, I file my claim, boom. There's my claim payment, and now I can go to the counter and pay for my ticket. That's an extreme case for how this can work in insurance. Property and casualty claims, especially places with natural disasters, being able to push money to people when the banking system may be down. Extremely important use case. I realize not all of this is necessarily relevant to the money transfer networks, but I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about how this can be applicable in other settings. Last one actually that I'll talk about is merchant settlement. Same kind of thing as the driver for Uber. Small businesses. Small businesses want to, when they process cards, they're probably getting their money on day 2, day 3, maybe day 4. Again, they may want to take a little bit of their money, not all of it, but a little bit of their money for working capital, for access to cash on any given day. Pushing that money through Visa Direct is actually a tremendous use case as well. These are folks that we that have publicly stated that they will be working with us. We are very, very proud to have them as our clients. There are others that will be coming soon, very soon, and we will be making some announcements about them in the very, very near future. But we really do believe that the scale that we offer, that the scope that we offer, that our ability to continue innovating and continue to provide access, and that really is what our entire mission, our entire strategy is. Visa, you walk into any Visa's office, and on a wall somewhere are going to be the words, the best way to pay and be paid for everyone, everywhere. It doesn't say the best way to pay and be paid for everyone everywhere as long as you're being paid on a little piece of plastic that has a number 4 on it, and it just says the best way to pay and be paid for everyone everywhere. And that is our mission, and that is our goal. And if we can succeed in that mission, that goal, we believe that we can help you address the needs of your customers and the individuals that you serve. Thank you, and I'm more than welcome to take questions.
Great. Thank you, David. That was great. And first of all, congratulations on the Earthport acquisition.
Thank you.
I was part of that journey for 4.5 years at the board level. So it's great to see what a great fit it is with the direct ecosystem. So thank you for that. Let me kick it off, and I'm sure there'll be more questions. You put up some names at the end of remittance companies. I mean, there are a lot of MTO CEOs sitting here. If they wanted to be part of this ecosystem, just practically speaking, what does it involve? You know, what timeline, cost, just an overview. What do they do?
So start to finish, to get up and running, you're probably looking somewhere between 4 to 6 months. The key thing that you need to do is, and I'm talking about push to card first, and then we can talk about integration with sort of the overall thing. But you need to find and most people probably already have a merchant acquirer, and all merchant, not all. In Europe, we have 27 acquirers that are enabled for fast funds. There are about 43 acquirers. We love all our acquirers equally, but I have to say, if the 43rd doesn't get enabled, we're still going to be able to cover the entire market. So you need to find an acquirer that can be fast funds enabled and that can push. You need to do some integration. You'll probably need to have some work done on your side to initiate, to sort of just code to send the technical transactions, but just integrating with the acquirer and then forming the correct transactions for push to card. Then there's some testing. And then you're off and running. And we find that to be about 4 to 6 months. Similarly with Earthport, and I'm sorry, last thing as well. You or the acquirer could also sort of have an ISO connection to us or an API connection to us. We find the ISO to actually be a little bit more robust, but you can go either way. Similarly with Earthport, similar type of implementation process. If you're an MTO or your treasury bank, can and potentially could already be integrated with Earthport. It's just simply a matter of sort of setting up the program. We're very, very flexible. We really are. And I actually give you credit for your time at Earthport. I take no credit for this. I served on the Earthport board for about 6 weeks. And the 2 meetings I went to were some of the happiest minutes of my life. Earthport, part of Earthport's secret sauce is just the flexibility that's developed in terms of what file formats it can bring in. So the ability to integrate with Earthport is actually pretty straightforward for either you or your treasury bank to just send the payment instructions.
Take some questions, if the coffee's kicked in. Oh, yeah, see one there.
Hi, I'm Will from Tunes. I just wondered, will existing Earthport clients find any kind of teething issues post-acquisition, or is it fairly seamless?
So far, it's been fairly seamless. We don't anticipate teething issues. It's not as if it's a systems migration. It's more of an augmentation. Please don't walk away and say, "Oh my gosh, no one's going to notice anything and everything's going to be perfect." But it's not as if the nice thing about the synergies between Visa's network and Earthport is they didn't have any overlap. So it's not as if we're moving to a target platform and we're going to be saying, okay, this platform used to have this capability. This platform kind of does the same thing, but it does different things. So you're going to have a different experience. So there really shouldn't be very much.
David, I know Visa was one of the founding members for Libra, although that position is being reconsidered and so on, but not wanting to get into that so much. But just generally, could you talk about your blockchain strategy that you're looking at?
Sure. Going back to the best way to pay and be paid for everyone everywhere, we want to embrace new technologies whenever we can. I've been speaking mostly about Visa Direct, push to account, which tend to be, and the use cases I used here tend to be push to consumer, whether it's a person to consumer or a business to consumer. We also have recently launched a wholesale commercial payments platform, which we call B2B Connect. And B2B Connect is meant for very, very large payments from commercial entity to commercial entity across border. And B2B Connect actually leverages blockchain in order to be able to make those payments as efficiently as possible. So we are open and actually embracing new technologies, constantly evaluating them and seeing the most efficient way to enable different entities to trade with each other and remove friction, create better transparency, and reduce costs.
Take one more question. Yeah.
Hon Ling from Merchant Trades here. This could be a bit technical. So if, let's say, we connect to Earthport directly, does that mean there's no PCI DSS requirement?
Let me get back to you with the answer to that because I don't know it and I'd hate to just make something up, okay, if that's all right. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, then just one last one from me. The schemes have always been sort of saying they want to kill cash. We heard yesterday from MasterCard that through the acquisition of Transfast, they inherited a cash payout network. You sort of alluded to it sort of pay out anywhere in any form. What's the stance going forward?
Yeah, I don't think we want to kill cash. We think we have a better offering than cash. We want to compete with cash. Visa, Visa runs its own ATM network. I mean, the Plus network, I know MasterCard has Maestro. We understand that, we think that digital payments are more efficient. We think they're more cost effective. They're certainly easier cross-border. We think they provide better opportunities for reconciliation. They're faster, more efficient. I think it's very, very interesting that San Francisco just recently passed an ordinance requiring businesses to take cash because so many of them have independently decided that they didn't want to accept cash anymore. And this wasn't us, this was just them saying this is a better way for me to run my business. I get better throughput, I have less shrinkage, I have less to be stolen. So we think that digital payments have a lot to offer and a lot to offer in terms of competing with cash. But we don't want to kill it, we want to compete with it. And going back to receiver-directed payments, we like our ATM network. It works really well, and if people want to use it to get cash out, good, bless them. If people want to push money through, remittance, and the receiver wants to walk into a store and pick up cash, that should be the receiver's choice. So, I work for Visa. I don't think I'm necessarily agnostic on this. I very rarely carry cash. We were talking about this a little bit during the coffee for very strategic reasons. I very rarely carry cash, but we want to compete with it. We don't want to kill it.
We won't check your pockets, David. We will. We'll bring it to an end there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.